We are back with Group D, about to start here. And again, it's the same system as we had before. There are going to be groups of 4, top 2 using normal group system, double elim, go through to the final week, which will be, I think it concludes on the 20-something of December, whichever weekend that is, the one before Christmas, the one with Descent of Dragons. But getting into the game in hand, Romania and Denmark. Denmark have lost their Shaman, Romania have lost their Rogue, and you can see the others there. Any thoughts on that lot, Derek?
I mean, I think for the most part, it looks like Denmark have got a pretty good deal out of this. Getting to shield your Druid and not really having any particularly weak matchups is, I think, a very, very good way to start. Obviously, it would have had the Rogue, which would be a very nice matchup. Fantastic matchup against Warrior, make no doubt. Shaman, I think, is a perfectly reasonable matchup, especially when you take into account Denmark's signature build of the Druid, which I believe is the combo Druid. The more standard late game infinite banker fatigue Druid. This one has the banker capabilities, but it also has the Floop's Glorious Gloop and Pounce version. So a very, very versatile build of the Druid that I think with the anti-aggro tools put in, like the Wild Pyromancer, the Pounce, and all that goodness, should be able to hold up very nicely against the Shaman that we're seeing first game off the bat.
Yeah, interesting to see how this one turns out. Hannibal Z, by the way, has been, I still don't know if he's Hannibal's or Hannibal Z. I think he has a capital sometimes and not others, which, yeah, there's various different puns you can make on that. But he won Tavern Tales, I think, back in 2014, 2015. He's been around forever. And I say this every time Romania play, but they are my favourite community in all of the nations that play Hearthstone. Because even though there's only sort of 30 or 40 of them playing regular Hearthstone, like serious level, they stick together really well. As you can see, as always, RDU, I believe it's his house, it usually is. Having people around, getting the team together, he's done that every year in global games, and it's really good to see.
So getting into this first game, it is going to be the Druid off to a pretty nice start. Fury Hunter has kind of hilariously drawn all the draw cards in his deck. I quite personally, I'm a big fan of his build with the overflow in there. I think if you are going to include overflow, you have to drastically alter the way your deck is built. You can't have the usual heavy stuff in there like King Theoris and Cenarius, or you'll just, you'll be overflowing. You'll have too many cards, and you won't be able to actually cast any of them. Whereas with the number of 0, 1, and 2 cost cards in Fury Hunter's deck, I think this is a very smart build.
Yeah, Romania have gone with a slightly weird build of the token Shaman. Everyone has it very slightly different, but they've taken out Stormbringer in favour of 2 Lightning Bolts, basically, and 1 Lightning Storm.
Interesting.
Which could...
Well, sorry, I was just going to say that this to me feels like a pretty old school version of the deck, honestly. Like, the Lightning Storm as well, this is an incredibly overload heavy version of the deck, which means, you've got a lot of synergy with Thunderhead, Vicina, and Lickham. You're never going to be starved for overload effects. But what it does mean is that, ironically, putting more cheap spells in your deck in a way makes Spirit of the Frog worse, because you're less likely to draw through to the cards that you actually want, like Evolve and Voltaic Burst.
Yeah, if you're going to get funky with it, I'd rather play a random 4-drop, which would be 1 Hex or something, and then at least you've got the chain into the Hex, into the Bloodlust to thin out your deck to get some of those key cards out. Talking of key cards, Soul of the Murloc Bloodlust in the Druid matchup is absolutely huge. If you can get some of those things to stick around, you can just get the kill in before they have real time to defend. But obviously they'd rather draw it via frogs and other means and actually just have them in their hand.
So Hannibal's presented with a very interesting choice here, which is basically to hair or not to hair, which usually I think here would be a pretty clear go for it. It's a turn away from swipe. Even if they have the Innovate as well, they have to take a turn off quest completion. But with Fury Hunter's weird build of the Druid, it gets more complicated because he has Pyromancers instead of the swipes. Personally, and this may just be Caster Vision getting to me here, as I am so... infamous, I suppose, for messing up. But I think that even with Pyromancers, you should just take the risk here for Hannibal's. The upside, if it works out, is potentially game-winning. And if you're not going for the risk of hair into Soul of the Murloc into Bloodlust, I don't really see what the game plan is.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing it on turn 5. It's just too slow. The Druid starts getting established, and you can get them low, but you can't kill them. So personally, I'd have liked to see the hair as well. If they swipe it, They've got to have the Innovate and the Swipe, like you say, or the Pyromancer and a spell, which slows down their quest, which is okay. It's not ideal, of course. But when are you playing this Soul of the Murlocs now? You're playing it on turn 5?
That's right.
Which means you're not bloodlusting your first bloodlust until turn 6, and that's probably not going to kill them. And you've got nothing else, unless you can somehow get the Sea Giant down.
Yeah. I can fully see where, Hannibal's is coming from. Even if there wasn't a Pyromancer, if it was just a hero power, that only would have left, 4 minions on board instead of 5. But even then, hero power Soul of the Murloc, that's a 5 minion board. The way I see it is if you're doing it on turn 3 or you're waiting till turn 5, Pyromancer locks you out of the game pretty much anyway. So you may as well just take the risk a bit earlier so you can reap a higher reward.
Yeah, and the evolve is just, it's lovely to wait for, but it's too slow. You just need bodies on a board.
I agree completely.
Cool. We're in agreement, Derek. That means it's 100% guaranteed to be wrong. No, but seriously, it'd be interesting to see how this works out, because I feel that now the Druid has every chance to get established. And it's okay saying, well, we can see their hand, but they're going to have a Nourish or an Oasis Surger or something to slow it down. That the Druid they're drawing too many cards one at a time, let alone with their card drawing mechanisms, to not have something to clean up your first board.
Agreed. Oof.
And there's the reward.
The card you want to wait for, that's the one. This has to be go time now for Hannibal's.
Yeah. The theory being this board can look after itself, but the Druid has completed the quest, so Starfall would seem good, but a lot of these 4-drops have at least 3 health. Unlike those.
Wow, okay. I mean, what happens here? Wait, that's like terrible versus Starfall, right?
Yeah, you just get Starfalled. I mean, as it happens, you don't, but that is like the worst evolve you could hope for.
Because when you Starfall, both the 5 damage and the 2 damage happen before Death Rattles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the 2/6 won't get the 2+2/2 buffs.
Right. Yeah, we see it with Acolyte of Pain kind of in reverse, where it draws the 2 cards.
Right. Before anything
notices. So, yes, the Starfall counts as type 1 spell.
Whoa!
Oh, I like this, though.
To counteract it, they're trying to play around the Starfall, buff up their board. That is a smart play. That's a very smart play.
That's a super play. We were critical of how they went about it, but that is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
now Starfall almost kills nothing. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Very clever. And now with a buffed up Khadgar, things have to be getting a little scary for Fury Hunter. You're all of a sudden wondering, Desert Hare makes a whole bunch of 1/1s, or Voltaic Burst makes a whole bunch of 1/1s.
I mean, you're also taking 23 damage from a Bloodlust.
That is also scary.
Which isn't good. So you haven't got time to go Innovate Nourish.
Right.
Unless you feel you're going to hit your taunts and then just play your Nubisants and play them down. In which case, they may decide that's the better bet and just take their chance. Because if you don't get the Nourish off, you never get it off.
Whew.
So they're looking for a Nubisant here, or maybe a Wrath would help them at least survive a bit longer as well. So there are outs.
So while we were praising the play for Hannibal's to go for the self-lightning bolt there, if they'd saved it, they would have won the game here. Oh, no, wait, not quite. With the double taunt here, they would have ended up still not being able to deliver lethal, but it's just kind of funny how it works out.
Yeah, really top quality play there from Denmark, playing to the outs they have and the likely thing that's going to happen to them next turn. And now they have all that mana available for future turns with which to start tidying up.
Kind of an interesting point that the Pyromancer didn't come down, because mana is going to be a little tight over the next few turns. But I can see why they, as an anti-Soul of the Murloc tool, I can see why it's useful.
Yeah, also the 3-attack Anubisants stack up nicely against the 4/4s if you're going to go Pyromancer Bees next turn, for instance.
Yeah.
So you might find yourself with a lot of 1 health minions, and like you say, the bigger point being the Soul of the Murloc.
Oh, the Khadgar Soul of the Murloc synergy. That is another smart play here from Hannibal's and RDU. Even though I disagree with the earliest, most basic play of just not playing the Hare. all the little tricks they're doing since then, like lightning bolting their own minion and trading him with the Khadgar here to get the more Murlocs. This has been deep understanding of technical play with the deck.
Yeah, very much so. And this is the key turn. If you don't kill them next turn, you probably never kill them as the Shaman. With one or two exceptions, especially with no Stormbringer in your deck, so you don't have that cheesy hair Stormbringer reload that sometimes just sort of lets you flop over the finishing line.
But here we go. We were waiting for the turn, and it appears like it's finally here.
Yeah, they're just going to be facing down a Sea Giant and maybe a couple of Murlocs. It's close to being enough in some ways.
Yeah, exactly. Just Sea Giant left on the board isn't quite enough, but any other single minion pushes it over the finish line.
Yeah, and they're going to have one other minion, right?
I don't think so. I believe it will die, and then Pyromancer will go off, and it'll be exactly one Sea Giant left on board. It does have 10 attack, though, but that's still just shy of lethal. Just
16 with the Lightning Bolt thrown in. And they haven't got the healing at the moment of Denmark, so it is possible they can get killed over 2 turns. No taunt, no heal, and a 10-8 Sea Giant.
Right.
Somehow can't be dealt with right now. I suppose it can be dealt with surges, but that's not a solution. That's just a stall.
I mean, it could be a solution depending on what the Shaman's cards are in the next couple of turns. If we're looking at a couple of duds, just like the removal cards, then it could be enough for Fury Hunter to just kill off these couple of minions. But if Hannibal's can find, lick him or just any way to stick a board for this Bloodlust, could just be game.
Yeah, the second evolve might just get them a hair off the top as well.
You never know.
And they still have their Mogus in there that can just get you some nonsense, like Grom or something turns up with mutates, etc.
Ooh, that is a spicy card to find. When you're rocking bees as well, like we are looking at bees. Oh wait, Gloop, bees, Druid of the Scythe. That means that 6 minions die, so you're back up to 8 mana at that point.
Yeah, and they'll probably take the opportunity at that point to get this Nourish off and find some long-term solutions.
Oh yes, or Druid of the Oasis Surger as well. That gets the job done perfectly well.
And Denmark, we were a little bit critical last week of their timing, but they've not even been close to roping, and all these plays have been really solid. They have absolutely tidied everything up like you would expect from Freddie, who is an extremely well-versed player, and Fury Hunter, of course, winner of DreamHack last year.
And Fury Hunter is kind of like king, emperor, and ruler of ladder at the moment, like with a lot of other players shifting over to mostly Battlegrounds, which he is also doing very well at, by the way. He's kind of just for the longest time been destroying the top of ladder.
Yeah, and it's good to see he is one of the players that he wasn't quite in that should have been GM if you had a different list category, but very much in the conversation for sort of the next tier. And somebody, if you're sticking with it, you move up those tiers rapidly as well when you're close to start with.
Absolutely. I liked as well the decision to go for Druid of the Scythe instead of the Crystal Merchant for a bit of extra taunt. You just want to close out any kind of lick him nonsense for lethal until you can play the Overflow, heal back up, start to dominate the board. This is where things just slip absolutely out of control. And
that Overflow has activated Zephyrus.
Yeah, nutty.
Which means that next time there's any problem, which is likely never because of the lack of Stormbringer in the deck, if there is another problem, you just blow it all up.
I mean, look at this from Fury Hunter. He's going into his turn 9 next turn, and he will have 5 cards left in deck. It is absolutely stupid. Once this Druid gets rolling, you just can't beat it.
No, absolutely. It's one of those matchups that turn 6 and 7 basically decide it every single time, and it's got very low variance. You either get it done or you don't. It's a very good matchup to practice your Hearthstone, though. From the token shaman side, because if you make a mistake, you lose, and if you play perfectly, you've got a very good chance of winning.
Yeah,
so
it's a tough opponent.
It's nice to get punished for your mistakes. That sounds sort of backwards, but you learn faster if you get punished for your mistakes.
And that is going to do it. Hannibal, King, always the final nail in the coffin for those matchups. And while we were saying, I did I do still disagree with their initial decision to not just tempo out the hair. I can see where they're coming from a little bit more with how the game shook out. Like, if they're in such a bad spot, they have to hope that they find the evolve off the top or the Mogu or Mutate or something like that. I can see where they're coming from, and everything else along the way I thought was some very, very clever Hearthstone from them. Very like good in-depth understanding of the tricks you can pull with the deck. I just think a little bit more of aggressive play might have been able to get them over the finish line.
Yeah, certainly would have given them better outs because the Bloodlust would have gone off, and then they got a chance of another Bloodlust. They've got 2 Lightning Bolts in hand that they can actually point at face rather than their own minions, which again was correct at the time. It'd be interesting to have a chat with people like RDU. I know he likes to defend his plays quite vehemently if challenged.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, like this hand.
Quite a hand there for Hannibal's. Yeah, I'm wondering what you get rid of. Like, obviously, I want to keep the Frog, the Desert Hare, and the Evolve. Thunderhead?
They are playing that double Lightning Bolt build, which makes it much closer to a keep than normal. Normally, I think I'd just throw it, but the double Lightning Bolts might swing it.
Like, what are you trying to find by throwing it away? Mogu exactly?
Yeah, or maybe Murloc. Sludge Slurper?
Yeah, maybe just to go first, yeah.
Just to challenge the board. It's not a great thing. Maybe Thunderhead's just good enough compared to your likely pickups.
That's what I'm thinking. It's just good enough for the most part. Like, sure, you'd want 0-cost spells like Zap or Mutate to go with Spirit of the Frog. And we
don't want Spirit of the Frog.
The Spirit of the Frog.
So one of the things that can go wrong in this matchup, let me just check Denmark's deck, but I'm almost certain it'll be in there, is your Frog can get sniped.
It can get sniped and it can get deadly shotted.
And it gets really irritating having to play around a random secret.
That's true. Wow. I've got to be honest, I am surprised by that. I kind of feel like even if that can happen, it's maybe still just worth going for it. But clearly here, Hannibal disagrees. They've got a game plan. And, you know, like we were saying, as soon as we say it, we see the reasoning for it. We know that Hunter can wreak havoc with your Spirit of the Frog. And honestly, I'm actually just pretty intrigued to see how this works out. I want to know if this is just correct.
Right. Because of the hand. Let's look at it the other way. What are you trying to get with your Frog that might cost you a whole turn?
I mean, just good cards, right? Like, Frog's just good. If it just draws you 2 cards, it turns into a 4-drop.
Sure.
It's just good.
I agree that it's just good, but you've got Hare Evolve in hand, which is a big chunk of what you're looking for. Given that you've got that already, and given that you might just invest 3 mana into doing nothing, I certainly understand it. I'm not claiming it's right or wrong, but very interesting play, and I think I like it, actually. Just go for slightly more grindy game plan, protecting your Hares with your Thunderhead. Or your evolved Hares, obviously, with your Thunderhead.
Like, and again, like I was saying, my initial instinct is definitely you should just keep the Frog on the coin. But I am very open to the idea that against Hunter, when you have as good of a hand as this already, you should consider throwing it away.
Yeah, this isn't like the last game where I'm fairly sure that I didn't like the Hare play, not playing the Hare on 3. This one makes a lot more sense, and I'll be curious to learn along with everybody else how this goes. Yeah, something very obvious about the Danish team looking at the webcams this time around is they're starting to talk instantly that they get their new card and so on. I suspect last week they were just that little bit laid back, really happy to see them.
Yeah, I wonder, because I have to feel like if I was playing in a team, because when I play Hearthstone, I very, very rarely play with other people in a call. It's just kind of grinding by myself. So my initial instinct would be to think through everything in my head, probably.
I know many years ago, but I think the same would still hold true if it was today. Once again, mentioning a Sottle story. Turns out that most stories of mine from the past involve our famous Happy Caster. When he was trying to teach me Patron Warrior, I'd have an idea what to do, and then you'd get to the rope, and he'd sort of explain to me, now you do this, and the rope would just blow up every single game. It worked, because the next day when I was playing on my own, I was doing really well with it. But on the day, it was just a farce, because it's so hard to do everything. Right, that's a decent evolve this time around, a very decent evolve.
Yeah, definitely not terrible. I'll take the Annoyo module, and there's no Murlocs as well, is the important thing. No Scargill, no Tasty Fin, so I think you're pretty happy as Hannibals.
Yeah, notice that Denmark are sitting on this hungry crab waiting for the soul of the Murloc.
Yeah.
They may be forced into playing it at some point.
But this is going to be a pretty juicy turn now for Freddy B, because he can create 5 tokens here, which means that's just munched through, right? The Annoyer module just disappears, and this charges face for like 16 damage.
Yeah, it's just going to be ridiculous. Anyone who's played Battlegrounds will know how silly Hyena is.
This has actually just become Battlegrounds at this point.
You're supposed to tap the left-hand one first.
Yeah, exactly. My game's bugged.
Positioning, it should be on the right-hand side. But here they all come. And now the decision, do you just waste a dog for 2 extra damage to face, or don't you?
I mean, probably right. It dies anyway. You just want your guy to be as survivable as possible.
Survivable it isn't, but it's going to wipe out a board.
That's right. It's survivable enough, I think it's fair to say. It means that Hannibal's has to make this play. He has no choice at all, which guts his Thunderhead plan. Means Bloodlust isn't even playable next turn. This is looking pretty scary now for Hannibal's.
And Freddy rubbing his hands together as
well, he gets the soul of them. He gets the Murloc Muncher, the Hungry Crab now.
Something that Boar Control pointed out to me that isn't obvious. I assume it applied to every team. It definitely applied to the UK. Is the teams were in the same call, so they could see each other.
Oh, interesting.
It wasn't like really easy, but apparently the players could see each other on screen. Boar was saying that, forgive him for not being his normal animated self this week when he gets around to their matches tomorrow, because there was an element of keeping a poker face.
Interesting. I hadn't thought that. But here, I like what Freddy B's doing of just trading in all the 1/1s. I think it's tempting to go face with everything, but when you have the curve of, Unleash the Beast into Tiamat, into Unleash the Beast hero power with the twin spell, I think you are very, very likely to curve out better on average than your opponent. So just take the trades. Don't let them do anything silly.
Yeah. Yeah, and Hungry Crab is just mean. I don't think until you face it, because there might be people that haven't remember that meta. But the crab metas, it really is. It just challenges so many things. Even 4-drops, it challenges pretty well for those evolves.
That's right.
Playman Pressure Plate here, really awkward messing around. If you're wondering why they're not playing the Thunderhead stuff, they don't know what this secret is. And it's put them in a really bad spot. And this is where the Hunter usually just gets command with its sort of mid-rangey to slightly expensive stuff. It becomes very hard for the Shaman to battle back.
And at this point, although it's not over necessarily, it feels like the beginning of the end now for Freddy B, especially with the pickup of the kill command. And it really does just make you wonder about the game plan that Hannibal's went for, because although I completely understood his thinking of, okay, tempo out the hair, that makes sense. On turn 3, coin it out with the evolve. If they had gone for a clear plan a little bit quicker, like where they clear off the Hyena with the Lick Him, maybe playing out one of their Overload cards, it's much lower tempo on their side, or lower development, I should say, but it does make sure that the thing that can go terribly, terribly wrong doesn't go wrong. And although that's not always correct, because your opponent usually doesn't have Spear and the Springport and the Unleash the Hounds, it kind of went as wrong as it possibly could for them.
Just showing here this game is over, but even that decision was a tough one for the Batman faces in the Romanian webcam. They still decided their only chance to win there was to hit 3 damage to face, because it was so close to lethal, rather than trading in and just never ever winning. So trying to force their opponent to trade into him, it was never really likely to work, but still made sense. And Denmark are just left with their priest, the combo priest.
They are left with their priest, and they are left with 3 matchups that actually, I believe, there is a significant portion of the community would argue is unfavored for the priest. You've got the Highlander Hunter, which, the secrets, the removal, the pressure, it can all come together and have a decent matchup versus the priest. The warrior has traditionally been the best anti-priest class just because of all the removal it has. And Shaman, with the tempo it has right at the start of the game with Hair and Evolve, maybe we are looking at a matchup here where the priest is unable to get the win for Denmark.
Yeah, it's all about what the priest draws. I know that sounds stupid because it's about what both decks draw, but really, especially if it comes down to the Shaman matchup, but even in the other two, if you draw that Cleric, you've got a really good chance. If you don't, you haven't. That's just how priest is. That's why people moan about the Cleric, but not a lot more to say than that. If they can draw a Cleric in a couple of games here, they'll probably get over the line.
Yeah, I'll imagine so. And I think if anyone's going to be able to play it well, it's very much to the Danish style of play that Priest will be able to be piloted well.
How would you describe the Danish style of play?
So I know a little bit less about Freddy B. I think I know more about Fury Hunter because I kind of interact with him a little bit more. But it is very much just whatever the best deck is at the moment, he will grind it until Kingdom Come, which was Priest for quite a while. And therefore I think Fury Hunter, being a very adaptable player, will know the deck inside and out.
Yeah, I agree with the proviso that Fury Hunter may not always agree on what the best deck is.
That's
going
true.
Back to the pirate days.
That is true.
But what he believes to be the best deck, he's very, very strong at. And again, he's proved himself to be right when he takes those opinions for the large part as well.
100%.
So I believe now we're just going to go to a short break before getting back to the end of this one. So we will see you in about 3 minutes. It's 2-0 to Denmark in this first round match of the second round of the third week of Hearthstone Global Games. Not quite sure where that was going, but it ended up somewhere. And Denmark just need a win with their combo priest against, as Darrett was saying, 3 matchups that may be considered unfavoured. The Shaman one's interesting to me because I hear everyone say that Shaman's favoured, but I'm not convinced there's much in it.
Yeah, me too, actually. I think a big part of it is people, for the longest time, struggled with playing the priest against the Shaman because they were going, wait a second, I play my Cleric on 1, I play my injured Tolvir on 2, and I'm not winning. What's happening here? Why isn't this working? And what you quickly realize is that against Shaman, specifically a Shaman with lightning bolts, like RDU's version, you kind of can't just play out your stuff on curve. Like, playing it as a curve deck is usually not good enough. You have to focus on priorities A through Z are just making a big guy. That's what you do. Shaman cannot answer one massive high health, high attack priest guy. And so your game plan should just be trying to buff up a big minion with, Circle of Healing on a Tolvir or a Blade Master, or Divine Spirit in a Fire on an Amet or a Cleric or something, just so the Shaman cannot fight back. That's your win condition.
Yeah, and I mean, we see that. That's why Romania have also bought Quest Rogue, for instance. Questing Adventurer Rogue, not Quest Rogue. Flashback.
Right.
The Edwin plus the Questings can just make that big thing and make the Shaman lose. Anyway, this is the Shaman. This is the Priest, and also will be struggling to do all those things. And this time around, they have drawn absolute rubbish, or as close to absolute rubbish as Priest can draw, because it hasn't got a North Cleric in the hand.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting to see the Tolvir plus Circle being kept, because obviously you can see where they're coming from, right? It makes a big minion at the start of the game, but 6 health is definitely not enough to solo you through the early game versus Warrior. A single Restless Mummy will just quite happily chew through a 6 health injured Tolvir. So it does make you wonder if they could have instead, like you were saying, gone for the Cleric, which is the absolute dream, or maybe even an Amet, a Psychopomp, something like that. But at the same time, I don't hate their strategy at all.
Yeah, one of the problems that Priest has against Warrior, it's this sort of linear thing that Warrior loves. You throw out a minion, the Warrior kills it. You throw out a minion, the Warrior kills it. Repeat. Yep. And the Priest really struggles to make a big board as a surprise turn. It can make a big minion as a surprise turn, but it really struggles to go particularly wide before the Warrior just gets a grip on it one at a time.
So let's take a look at the Warrior build here. It does run 2 copies of Weapons Project, so just going Coin Tolvir here was definitely a little bit of a risk, and you can see right there on Freddie B's face, he knew exactly how much of a risk it was.
This is the part where you earn your metal as a Hearthstone player, earn your metal, you show your metal. What do you do with the Cleric? Obviously you draw cards, but what's the best efficient way to get you there?
So I think what we're probably both seeing is Tolvir this turn, and then Cleric heal Circle on turn 3. Seems like the best way to maximize your card draw. The risk is, of course, both your minions could die, but that seems staggeringly unlikely given the last couple of turns from RDU. I think just playing out Tolvir here, given there's clearly no Weapons Project or it would have been played, maybe no Shield Slam, and you can go face to counteract some of that anyway. I think this is a very safe play.
Yep, and connecting the 2 to the face, it seems weird not to trade if you're anyone who plays a lot of Hearthstone, but that damage does matter. Even though it's Priest that feels like it can do infinite damage, that damage is capped in the high 20s, low 30s most of the time for the 1 minion attack. So just chipping away is very nice to do. There's no reason to kill this 1-2. It doesn't get you anything.
And as you can see here, Freddie B thinking, oh, brilliant, look at that. There's not even a... no Weapons Project off the top, no Shield Slam, no nothing. This board is free to do as it pleases.
Yeah, always worth paying a bit of attention, just to make sure you can't just go crazy this turn. Like the obvious play is draw lots of cards. The not so obvious play, you just have a look, draw some cards, maybe get a huge Divine Spirit in a fire and just start hitting your opponent for 14 or something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I actually like this exact line that they're going for. I think prioritizing card draw as much as you physically can is the thing to do versus Warrior. So I agree with this completely.
Yeah, it's one of the advantages of these team situations. They will have looked at this play and noticed it in 0.001 seconds.
Yeah.
But still worth just discussing what might happen if we do something differently, because we have got a pretty killer hand here on some draws.
They really do. I mean, their hand is strong. It draws 2 more cards. They're very close to actually just threatening lethal in the next couple of turns, in all honesty.
Yeah. Yeah, double Divine Spirit and Topsy is just a huge amount of damage. 24
really is.
1 minion alone.
Right, if they can turn 5 power shield as well, that's 32, which is lethal as things currently stand.
Wow. Pretty unlikely, though, as you say. The mummy should clear up one thing and then start messing around with Dynamatic to at least massively injure the other things.
Wow, do you know what was really smart? Not attacking into the Town Crier this turn, but also every previous turn, is smart for a couple of reasons. We were thinking armor for Shield Slam, but what it also guarantees now... Oh no, sorry, I'm an idiot. No, I take my...
No, but what it would have guaranteed if I hadn't got the mummy...
I was going to say it guarantees a minion to be able to trade into, but I'm actually just a big dummy. It doesn't do that because they can just trade it in first. So good play by RDU there to trade in the Town Crier.
No, but you were right. If they didn't have the mummy...
Right, it guaranteed them a minion to trade into.
It guaranteed that something to heal one way or the other. Either the RDU has to throw it into you, or you throw it into RDU, one or the other. So it's not as silly as you first made yourself sound. So if you go for the 16-16 here, you're risking the 50-50 brawl losing you the game.
Yes.
But first they've got to have the brawl, and secondly, it's got to win the brawl. They've got to win the brawl. So it might just be worth smacking 16 to face. It saves you a second Divine Spirit in the games where it doesn't work. And the games where it does work, you win anyway.
I think I like it, because if we like very, very roughly napkin maths it, like it's like 25% chance they have it and it wins the brawl, right? Like maybe 50% chance to have it here. It's probably close to like 40%. And then you have the 50-50 to hit. I think a 75-80% chance to win the game is a very, very good out to go for.
Yeah, with Divine Spirit Topsy still in hand, which can very quickly win you the game with just the Cleric on its own. So yeah, I like this a lot.
In silent prayer as well for Freddy P, and I'd have to imagine Fury Hunter as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Freddy has shown a lot of character in this tour. I think in one or two of the other global games he's always had that character, but not necessarily shown it as much because he wasn't quite so relaxed. But he's very comfortable in his own skin as a player these days. Has been for a couple of years now, or at least a year. Should also mention with Fury Hunter has qualified. I haven't got the Arlington numbers up, but for the first 3 qualifiers for the Masters Tours this year, he got through by winning a qualifier each time.
Wow.
With a 71% win rate in best of 3s.
Not bad.
That's literally up there as high as you can get. It's not best of 5s anymore.
Yeah,
71% is just nutty.
I know you're obviously going to know this as well already, but random side point. Did you see on where Bunny Hop was looking for a team recently? He had like a 79% win rate in 2018.
Yes, in playoffs and champs, right?
Right, oh, okay.
But that's, I mean, you can't say anything about his other win rates as this game draws to what looks like a conclusion.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, Bunny Hopper in 1 or 2 events last year before he was on a team, I hasten to add.
Yeah.
Didn't necessarily give it his all in a couple of those events after he'd already qualified because he didn't need to.
Exactly. But for these players here in this particular match, Freddy B, Fury Hunter, and Denmark are able to take a very, very convincing 3-0 victory against RDU. That's like one of the fastest series we've had, I believe, in all of the global games for 2019. And honestly, I think it was just a pretty well-played series, all things considered. I think for the most part, they had a pretty easy course to victory in most games. You know, they were playing the aggressor in pretty much every matchup. It was just nice, easy plays they were going for. Like the Druid, absolutely. I think they knew exactly what they were doing. I think it was a very strong build as well. The Hunter, push everything face, it won the game. The Priest, make a big minion, it won the game. I think it was not especially difficult games of Hearthstone, but still just very well executed.
Yeah, and not just the execution of the play on the board, but the one criticism we had was maybe their communication was a bit on the line. They had plenty of time for their plays. Like I say, like you said, some were a bit easier. But they were making the critical part of the turn decision very early and then discussing this week. And that has led to them not having any of that confusion and complications of last week. Denmark sitting pretty, 1 more win needed, and they'll be in that top 8 heading on for Christmas time.
Yeah, I wonder what it comes down to, because I imagine for some teams it would be having to process your thoughts quicker, you know, just being able to communicate your ideas a bit quicker. But I wonder if for Denmark it's just a case of like, trusting your teammate, because clearly they both, I would have to imagine, think the other is a very, very strong Hearthstone player. So I wonder if they just say, all right, make the play. You know, what do you want to do? You're in charge. Go for it. Which I think for a lot of teams is probably what they need, is just to have trust and faith in their partner.
Yeah, I imagine Freddy and Fury Hunter could talk about one turn of Hearthstone that's just randomly put in front of them for hours.
Oh yeah.
And find all the intricate details. So maybe they were doing that a little bit too much last week. That's just a guess, but I can't see them not making obvious plays easily. So that maybe they just cut out some of the information flow and focus more on the important points of the turn. But whatever it is, it's working for them fantastically.
It is indeed, and that does mean that Romania are going to be in our next series after the following one, which I believe is Czech Republic versus Greece.
And they'll be playing the winners of that one. So stay tuned to find out who wins the first qualifying match between Czech Republic and Greece straight after this.